Most athletes and parents think motivation is the issue. They say, my child isn't motivated. They lost their drive. They don't want it enough. That sounds logical, but it's wrong. Motivation isn't broken. The system around the athlete is. And until you understand how motivation actually works, you'll keep trying to fix the wrong thing. In this video, I'm going to show you what motivation really is, why it fades, why relying on motivation is a losing strategy, and how discipline replaces motivation in the long term. This isn't about hype. I'm not trying to motivate you. It's all about learning what motivation is and how to control it. So that way you can be switched on and fired up whenever you need to be. Motivation is an emotion, energy directed toward an action. At a biological level, it's driven by dopamine, the chemical released when the brain senses progress, movement forward, effort with meaning. Here's the key distinctions. Motivation is not discipline, confidence, commitment, work ethic. It's a temporary chemical state, which means expecting motivation to be consistent is like expecting your phone battery to stay full charge without actually need to charging it. Nothing is wrong with the athlete. They're just running on a bad system. Your brain is designed to conserve energy, not chase goals. So motivation follows a very predictable curve. So something new increases high motivation. Something repetitive lowers dopamine. Something predictable, motivation drops. That's why motivation is the highest at the start, lowest in the middle, and then strongest again near the finish. Let me explain a bit more. So if we look at motivation like this, it's a big U like that. Okay? So when you start something new, you try something new. You go to the gym, or you join a new sport, or you try out a new challenge, or you have a new hobby. That's a terrible U, right? When you have something new, and motivation is very high. So like say, imagine this is motivation here. So say, now if I were to explain something visual so you can see it, what it looks like, this is what motivation actually kind of looks like as a demonstration. It looks like a big U, like this, okay? So as motivation will increase and decrease during a certain period of time. So imagine this is your goal over here, okay? So your goal could be anywhere to, I want to make a rep team, I want to run a certain distance, I want to hit a certain time on a 100-meter sprint, something like that. And that's your goal. So what happens is we get really excited to achieve that goal. So we have to do something new. We have to do something exciting. We have to try this new training. We have to do this new challenge. We have to do this new gym training, this new thing. And we get really excited and like, oh, we're going to do it. I'm going to do it so well. It's going to help me get to that goal. And then we do it for a bit. And as time goes on, we start losing motivation. Because what happens is something new and our goal increases motivation, increases dopamine. But through the middle part here, this is like what I call the boring zone. As you do something for a period of time, if you're a swimmer, there's so much you can stare at a line on the bottom part of the pool and you're swimming. It gets boring at some point, doesn't it? But how to increase and get rid of the zone, because this zone is sometimes never going to go away, right? And we got to make sure we find ways to help increase motivation during this period. Now, it's always going to happen naturally. This is biology. This is just human nature, okay? So we have increased motivation, it dips, and it comes back up near the goal. So our problem isn't motivation. Our problem is the system and how do we get through the slump here. How do we get drive and passion and purpose in what we do while we're in this area, okay? That's how it works. Because when you're running a cross-country race, you're running at the very start, you're kind of nervous and excitement is also kind of the same chemical release in the brain. So you're nervous, you're kind of excited, you're motivated. So you're going, and you started, and halfway through the race, you're like, oh my God, this sucks. My legs hurt, I'm out of breath, it's kind of hot out, I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks, right? Cross country, it's hard. And you're running, and you get close to the finish line, and you can see it. And when you can see it, you hear people cheering, you hear people going, you see your mom, you see your coach, you see your teammates, and all of a sudden, increase in motivation. You're like, okay, I'm going to bust it. I'm going to go as hard as I can, right? That's just what it looks like here. When you're starting, motivated, through the middle, it gets kind of like, oh my God, this sucks. To the very end, you get motivated and passionate again, okay? So our strategy is going to focus on this area here. Now, before we get into this here, I want to explain a few more things about motivation. Extrinsic motivation comes from external rewards or pressure, praise, wins, trophies, rankings, selection, fear of disappointing others. Extrinsic motivation is useful but unstable because it depends on the results. When results dip, confidence dips, motivation collapses, and effort drops. So what I mean is, like, if your confidence and motivation relies on when I do really well at something, well, imagine you're not doing very well. Boom, you're not motivated anymore. So extrinsic motivation is good, but not always helpful. That's why outcome-driven athletes are inconsistent. Intrinsic motivation, identity-driven, intrinsic motivation comes from internal standards, pride in improvement, mastery, enjoyment of the process, personal values, becoming someone you respect. Intrinsic motivation is more stable, less emotional, far more durable. Elite performers don't rely on outcomes. They rely on identity-based standards. So here's the rule. Extrinsic motivation gets you started. Intrinsic motivation gets you through the slump. And then extrinsic motivation gets you back to the goal again. If effort depends on outcomes, consistency is impossible. Here's where most systems break. Number one, goals that are too big. The brain doesn't respond to distant rewards. Big goals without short-term feedback creates overwhelm, avoidance, shutdown, no progress, signals no motivation. Here's an example. Ask your child, when do they usually get their homework done? On the day it's handed to them or on the last day it's due? Motivation increases as you get closer to when it needs to get done, urgency. So what happens if our goal's way too big and the goal's way out there, we won't be motivated. We'll be like, oh, I'll get to it eventually, right? So we can't have that. Rule number one. Number two, no clear finish line. If there's no deadline, urgency disappears. This is what we call Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available. So no timeline, no pressure, no drive. Basically the same thing I said before. Number three, constant comparison. Comparison shifts motivation from progress to fear. Fear consumes energy. Energy loses all the motivation the athlete could have. Number four, waiting to feel motivated. This is the biggest mistake. Motivation does not create action. Action creates motivation. Movement first, emotion second. Waiting is a losing strategy. Because here's what happens. If you lay in bed on your phone, are you going to feel motivated to get up and go do something? No. Are you going to be motivated when you're actually doing the workout yourself? When you get, like, it's hard to get to the gym, but when you get in the gym, you start lifting weights, start doing stuff, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. And motivation is not going to get you to the gym, right? You have to be disciplined. Like, when I don't feel like it, I still have to show up. I still got to put the work in. And when I get there, I'll feel motivated. Here's how we reframe motivation for athletes. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the operating system. Discipline means actions don't depend on feelings. Standards stay consistent. Effort is automatic. Discipline isn't about being hard, like tough. It's about removing decision fatigue. When discipline is in place, motivation becomes optional, consistency increases, confidence stabilizes, and identity strengthens. That's how high-performing athletes operate in sport and in life. So motivation isn't something that you want to chase. It's not something to engineer. If your child is struggling to motivate themselves, don't ask, how do I hype them up? Ask, what system are they running on? Because once the system works, motivation shows up naturally, or it doesn't even need to. And that's the goal. Athletes who don't rely on feeling good to do hard things. So if this helps you see motivation differently, please subscribe, because next we'll break down how to build a discipline-based system that works even on low motivation days.